Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight series. In this fourth episode, we're joined by co-author Hannah Hannon, former performer, business owner and founder of HBA, a specialist business support company serving the entertainment and creative industries. For years, Hannah tried her hardest to fit into the traditional performer role, but while others seemed effortlessly spontaneous and glamorous, she was the one creating spreadsheets, solving problems, planning ahead and making sure everything ran smoothly behind the scenes. What she once saw as her least exciting qualities would eventually become the foundations of an award-winning business. In our conversation, we're going to dive deeper into her chapter, The Business of Show Business, exploring the highs and lows of her performing career, the lessons learned through motherhood and personal loss, and the moment she realised that success didn't require her to become someone else, it required her to fully embrace exactly who she already was. We'll discuss transferable skills, entrepreneurship, the realities of running a business in the creative industries, and why performers often underestimate the incredible value they bring beyond the stage. Hannah also shares how she now helps performers, production companies, and creative businesses build stronger systems, clearer processes, and sustainable success behind the scenes. Please join me in welcoming the fabulously organised Hannah to the Spotlight. Welcome to the Spotlight series, where each week we meet one of the brilliant co-authors and creatives behind Spotlight on Success, the PerformerPreneur book that's redefining what success looks like both in and out of the showbiz spotlight. I'm your host here, Nicole Louise Geddes, and in these special episodes we learn even more about the stories behind the sequins, raw, honest, powerful reminders that the end of one act is only the beginning of another. So listen in as we chat challenges and triumphs and inspire you to shine in any spotlight you like.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. I loved it.
And so you should. It was beautiful. It's all about you and all about everything that you have been and done. So let's dive straight in because the chapter is incredible, Hannah. We have been working on that for a few months. It's now formatted. It's published, it's out in the world. I can't wait for people to read it. And let's start there. When it does become an actual physical book in the next few weeks, who do you hope the book will reach? Who have you got in your head that you're going to hand that to, and what do you hope that they will get from your chapter?
I think it would be essentially a version of me, back in years gone by sort of thing, but just someone that loves what they're doing, but still doesn't necessarily feel like they're at home in it. Because that for me was just like the biggest realization. It was this process that even made me realize, actually, hold on, when I reflect back, it was very much a case of I just didn't feel like it was quite right for me. And so I'm hoping that whoever picks up the chapter and reads it, and if someone resonates, it gives them the permission to accept the fact that maybe it's not going to be there, forever, and that there could be something else that's out there that's waiting for them.
I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. This book and all of the chapters, both from the first edition and the second edition, are all pointing exactly to that. They're saying, this is an amazing industry, but what else can you do alongside it, beyond it, before it, next to it? It's up to you. It's so personal. And your story is beautifully written and very open, because very few people care to admit they're slightly quirky. I mean, you call them boring,
Boring
traits. So tell us, if you haven't read the chapter yet, listeners, Hannah describes herself, well, actually, it was her brother, and I think it's the funniest line in the book, but she describes herself as boring. So what were those traits that gave you that label and made you kind of uncomfortable with the traditional showgirl performer identity?
I'm very much there is actually a term for it. I'm very introverted, even though I can come across quite extroverted. I'm extremely introverted. My like absolute favorite hobby in the world is reading books. I love more than anything sticking in my headphones, reading a book. So that's me. I've always been very academic. And it was actually, I made a decision at the age of 10, like out of the blue almost, where I was like, I want to have this career as a dancer. And, I was really lucky. My family always supported it. But I know that I know my grandparents definitely questioned it at points, because they were like, well, she should go into something with a more academic background. And I mean, even in the lead up to into like even getting into the training and taking those next steps, like as I got a bit older, I made sure I had my A levels, I had my backup plans. I was going to do, really wanted to get into journalism when I was doing my A levels. That was kind of my backup plan. So I ensured that I had the academic background there as well. I've never been, I was never a cool kid or anything like that. School was so far from it. But I also wasn't like geeky. I wasn't like a full of like geeked or whatever. I don't know. I just kind of sat in this middle piece. And then when you joining at Performing Arts College was just this wildly eye-opening experience. I had come from a very, it was a gorgeous dance school as a kid, and it's thanks to that place that I've even got to have the career I've had. But it was not the same style of training that I then experienced, and that from the moment I kind of stepped in over that threshold at dance college and started that next phase of the journey where I was really like committed, I'm going for it. I really started to notice, like, okay, I'm not as flamboyant, I'm not as outspoken, I'm not as outrageous, I'm not as dramatic, I'm not as these things. I'm actually going to do my homework. I was heartbroken because I really wanted a degree, and I was like, I didn't get into a couple of colleges, and the college I got into, although again, hindsight, retrospect, was the best place for me at the time, I wanted to have that academic element to it, and we had no official academic side. There was no like qualification that came with it. It was just training. And I remember when I like actually realized that, I was really heartbroken, because I thought, well, what am I gonna, like, what else am I meant to do here? There wasn't anywhere where for me to necessarily channel that side of things as well. So yeah, definitely, like, I've always been more, head girl and all of that route. And so then joining an industry that is glamorous and out there and outlandish and gorgeous and all these wonderful big personalities and everything, and I just kind of really noticed more and more that I was just not that person. Like, I'm not. It was just a bit jarring, I suppose, but I loved it. And so it wasn't that I joined the industry and thought, oh my word, this is awful. I absolutely love what I was doing, but I never felt truly at home there, I don't think.
Well, you say you love what you were doing. I know, and you say in the chapter, and me knowing you personally, you had a wonderfully varied, successful career. Like, you stepped up to the mark and you did and became all these things that your peers were around you, and you were rewarded with a brilliantly versatile, exciting career
Mm.
in the industry. But that word home is standing out for me, Hannah, because home for me is internal. It
Mm.
doesn't have to be a physical bricks and mortar thing. Like, when you come home, I say to Jack, where's our home? And our home is wherever we are, like wherever our heart is. And if your heart is not 100% authentic in what you're becoming and being, then I do believe you never quite feel at home. So at what point did you allow that real authentic version to start showing itself? What role, what job, what contract did that person start to appear and give you that flicker that I can't really put her in a box anymore?
Oh, that's quite an interesting question. I actually feel like I probably wasn't aware of it as much until I was freelancing, um, and it was much more gig work, because it then, it was there was no consistency, there was no guarantees or anything, so there was a lot more available time. I had, by that point, I'd done a good couple of contracts, very very contracts, and I mean, again, like, I didn't necessarily, I had great relationships with my cast, and I had wonderful, wonderful times. Like my first ever contract, still to this day, is the best summer of my life, hands down. Like it was just amazing. I had the most amazing time. Um, but I'm not bothered about going out partying. I'm not bothered about staying up late to sit in crew bar. I'm not bothered about some of that aspect, which was quite standard. It was very standard. I mean, I joined a tour with an Irish dance company. They are notorious for being out drinking and late nights and everything. And that's just not me. Like I'm just not that person, and I never have been. And but I don't think it was until really I was freelancing and I was gigging and I was meeting more companies and having not necessarily more involvement in any way, shape, or form. I was still very much like a performer, but there were occasions where it was a little bit more involvement, and I could have a little bit more kind of input, maybe is the best way to describe it, into some of like essentially the behind the scenes stuff. And it was that part that kind of made me start wondering. Also, the nature of gigging and freelance and everything. I didn't have anything consistent, and I needed it. So that combination of things. I had been applying for work in lockdown. Again, because I didn't get my degree. I did a couple of like online diploma courses, because I just wanted something tangible that I could pop on a CV to help me get a job and all of this. So I did a couple of diplomas with event management and PAing and admin and stuff. And it was just kind of, it wasn't ever like a definite, this is, hold on, I've realized this. I think it was just the different factors that were coming in from everywhere and how it all ended up laying out. I just kind of got to a point where I was like, I don't know if this is for me anymore. I don't know where I fit in this anymore. Because by that point as well, as much as I would have loved to have gone on and done more cruising and contracts abroad and stuff, I didn't actually want to be away for a significant amount of time. I'd got to that point as well. I didn't want to be away for 8 months of the year. I wanted to do a couple of months and then come back, and that's not really available. So it was just this like varying factors really that got me to this point where I thought I need to really sort of reassess. And so that was kind of it. It's a funny one, isn't it? It's a funny like, transition where you kind of realize, but you don't want to admit that you realize either.
I think that's the bit, isn't it? We're all going to go through this. I have been
Mhm.
through it. You've been through it. The other 17 authors in the book have been through it. But when do you admit it? When does it hit home? It's all absolutely individual. You mentioned there that you did your A levels. You thought you had a backup plan. Did the backup plan at that point ever look like your own business and what you have gone on to achieve?
No, never, 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 never. There was a point, because I feel like, you get a contract, you're on an amazing high, you've got a secure job for however long, you know, best part of at least half a year, usually, like a decent contract. So you know that you've got some stability, and then it would hit towards like 1 month to go kind of thing. And I would start to feel a bit anxious and a bit like, okay, and start, I'd always be quite proactive, and I would have started applying for castings and stuff ahead of the end of the contract and whatnot. And it was just this same cycle of, oh well, this is coming to an end. And I was having a conversation, and it was like, well, what do you want? What is it that you're gonna want? And at the time, and again, I think this is quite a natural assumption. I kind of thought, not necessarily an agency, but I would have liked, I considered producing some shows, like small dinner style shows. And so I thought possibly if I was going to do anything off my own back, it would kind of be more down that route. Um, I was applying for a lot of work. I wanted to journalism by this point had gone out the window. I was not I was not going down that route. I wanted to go into event management, and because I have a background in that as well. So I was applying for work, but I just wasn't getting anywhere with it. And, some of it was like, and then I was trying to apply for work within entertainment agencies or, within the industry. And a lot of that ended up being more admin stuff that I was applying for. And so again, it was kind of this natural progression of what I noticed, the qualities that I had, my qualifications matched, um, the areas that I wanted to the industry, sorry, that I wanted to be a part of. It was kind of how it all fell into place. And then I stumbled across the concept of a virtual assistant. And I was gonna just apply to an agency to just be a virtual assistant on a book kind of thing. Um and then I just had a complete like, oh man, hold on. What about I do it for myself?
And you have done it incredibly
Mm,
well and incredibly
thank you.
quickly, and you built it
Yeah.
from those superpowers that you once
Mm.
classified and boxed up and packaged as boring. And then I'm listening to you in all of the applications and the auditions, and like you say, the connection with the industry. You would have been using those skills, Hannah, frequently throughout the
Yeah.
whole performance trajectory. So let me
Mhm.
ask you what those specific skills and jobs and tasks were that you think that most performers should be, and that's another story, should be, could be,
Should be.
potentially
Yeah.
are doing, that are key business building blocks.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially about communication, marketing yourself, how you communicate with a company, with a casting, how you market yourself for that casting, and then how you manage the general sort of essentially life admin, but a business admin like invoicing, getting your tax return done, keeping on top of your calendar so you don't double book things, and that element. And I was really kind of hot on that. I had a proper ritual when I was freelancing. Every Monday I'd sit down, I'd do all my invoices from the weekend. I would update my mileage in the back of my diary. I would update any expenses because at that time I didn't drive, so it was a lot of buses and trains and things. And I had like a proper little ritual, but I was on top of it and I knew. But and I would, I do things like read my contracts. I actually read my contracts. Not a lot of people do that, but I would want to know, like, what am I signing up for here? What is the deal? And they're the things like they sound when you just say it like that. People can be like, oh yeah, I do it. But it's how you approach it and like being on top of it and presenting yourself with this business attitude and business mindset, which I know like we have talked about before as well, but it's coming across in like how would a business approach it, because you are the business, you are a business regardless of what that output actually is. And if you're a cast member in a big production, you're still a business because you've still got to get that job and pay your taxes on that job and get paid from that job, and that's part of being a business. So that it's that life admin, which I call it, but it's kind of outside of life admin. But they were like the really essential things that kind of kept on. And then I just was naturally a lot more organized and um like kind of just lent into more admin stuff anyway. I supported he's now my husband, but I supported him with his admin and stuff for his shows and his tours. And I did like various bits and pieces because it just came naturally to me. So
The tagline for the
they
book,
so,
Hannah, sorry, the tagline
yeah,
for the
not
book, as we know, is when passion meets purpose.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And since this second edition has come about, and I'm not going to change the tagline for the book, but the word pride keeps coming up for me because your passion and your purpose have
mm-hmm.
met. And it's
Yeah.
that pride of becoming and doing the passion and the purpose marrying up piece and being really proud of what that looks like, what it can become. And I really see that in you, because
Yeah.
the passion of the industry, the purpose of just, really realigning and going back to the heart, going back to who you are and the authenticity, and then having the pride to run with that, to deliver it, to shout and speak about this is who I am, this is what I can do, and marrying all of that together. And I think that's the piece of the puzzle for people listening. What are you passionate about? What is your internal compass telling you and saying that you should and could and you're very good at, and what would you, be successful in next, and then having the pride to pursue it with power and, passion and purpose. And that's what I see in you and HVA. Now, you mentioned just a little bit back that HVA was evolving in a lesser way, a side hustle way, in terms of doing it for your partner,
Mhm.
doing it for some of the companies you worked for, certainly doing it for yourself, the admin bit, and then potentially seeing an avenue for you as a VA. Now, HVA is much bigger than that. Um, but that moment where it turned from a little side hustle and a little exploration to a business came at a point in your chapter of quite a significant moment. Are you happy to go there?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a big part of my story. So,
Well, I just think it's necessary for people to know these transitions happen,
Mm.
A, as highlights, but B, as, consequences, reactions. They're not all smooth. It's not all, and another thing with the book, it's all different. Some things have
Yeah.
come out of tragedy, other things have come out of hope. So where did HVA truly come from for you?
So I'd had the idea, as I'd mentioned, I'd had the idea. I'd been looking for, I was applying for jobs. I was constantly on Indeed. The concept of a VA really appealed to me because it was flexibility. It was, I could do it from wherever. So if I was away for a full weekend or something, gigging, which was happening at the time, like the idea and the concept of it, okay, like really appealed to me. And then I had this complete light bulb moment one afternoon in the garden, and I went inside, grabbed an A4 piece of paper, which I do have still, and I had like written down all these things where I could be doing X, Y, and Z for businesses within the industry. I did like some deep dive research, like no one was offering anything that was specific to us. And so I had the idea, and then it was kind of like, okay, that's a really good idea. And life happens, and I don't know, I maybe probably didn't jump at it straight away. And then so whilst all this was going on, we were trying for a baby, and I felt pregnant. And so straight then, I'm a dancer, and so I'm like, okay, right, so what's going to happen now? I don't have a clue. And that very unfortunately, and very sadly, that very quickly ended that pregnancy. And it kind of really, it shocked me, I think, because I wasn't expecting to have fallen pregnant when I did. And it was just like this, the grief of it really kind of shocked me. Um, and I remember I had a gig like booked in not long after losing the baby. And I mean, I can't really bring myself to, I can't like really look at the pictures and the videos from it anymore because I don't recognize myself. I'm like destroyed, and I'm destroyed because this whole situation had happened, and and but it was that moment of going, well, we want to try again. We do want a family. What am I going to do if I fall pregnant? Like that, I can't be. It's not sustainable. I can't be gigging and dancing. There's going to be a point where people are going to be like, I don't think I want a pregnant dancer. There's health and safety concerns, aesthetic. Like I was working some of the jobs, it was a bit of an aesthetic thing going to be as well. And I just needed a bit of a distraction. I think I had too much free time because the gigs weren't as frequent. And I just thought, do you know what, sod it? I'm gonna go for it. And I had done various bits of outreach, and I had spoken to someone who had previously advertised that they were looking for someone to assist. And at the time, they were based up in Newcastle as well. So it was quite a nice like match. And I'd reached out and I had said what I'm doing. And she was interested, but I could only budget for and was only willing to give me 1 month to try and do a bit of marketing outreach. And so I was like, okay, fine. And so I set up my Instagram account, did that, had the month working with this particular client. And then that was it. And I was like, oh, what happens now? I've got to actually try and push through. So it was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't born from necessarily a sad place, because I had that idea and the concept, but its actual sort of coming out into the world was spurred on definitely from just a need to have something else going on in my life. Like I didn't want to just be sat at home waiting for castings to come in, waiting for the next text to say, can you do this gig? Like I wanted something a bit more tangible and a bit more that I was in control of as well.
I think
So
that's
yeah.
probably the piece, isn't it? And we can all relate to that. When is the perfect time to start the business? And like you
Yeah.
say, you actually did your Instagram and all those bits of marketing after the first client. Because I'm sure we all know you very well from the chapter, from this interview, from the other times you've appeared on the podcast. You're very organized. You've got your procedures and your structures, and that was very much you all the way through. So I should suspect you wanted and thought it would be a certain way, and that moment just propelled you forward because of that need for distraction, and we can all completely understand that. And here you are, doing it all the wrong way round, which is probably very un-Hannah like, but it got
A
you
little
to where you need to
bit.
be. There is a highlight in this story though with your beautiful baby Madeline.
Yeah.
And that again is another moment where your business and your trajectory skyrocketed, changed direction, did its thing. And go read the chapter, listeners, but it wasn't organized or strategic or in the order and place to perfection like Hannah would want it to be. Share a little bit about that again, that moment of up level necessity, scared, I guess, at that point as well.
Yeah. I mean, again, yeah, I fell pregnant again. I've got a gorgeous little girl, Madeline. And at the same time, we also had some pretty devastating news, literally at the same time as well, for my husband, which just completely like obliterated any plan, any hope, even at that point that we had for our family, for where his business was going. It was just like one of those moments where you go, what on earth is happening here? Like, what is the lesson going to be in this when we look back at it in a few years time? Like, it was awful. And at the same time, I literally gave birth to Madeline. And I obviously was going to go on maternity. I had one client that was keen for me to start back up as soon as possible. But the workload that I did for her was very minimal. So it wasn't a case of her, like, she didn't need anyone else in the interim. Other than that, I had no other clients or anything at the time. It all like naturally ended. I also did work at a performing arts college, like in person, but again, I was going to be on like a maternity leave with them, so I wasn't going back to that straight away. And with the news for my husband's tour, I just had this moment of going, what on earth are we going to do? Like, how are we going to survive this financially? Just in any way, shape, or form. Like, I'm holding this brand new baby, thinking, what is happening? It was crazy. And really, I knew that I was going to have to be able to get back into work somehow. The plan had been that I was going to be able to essentially take a few months off, at least to enjoy motherhood. Chris was going to be on tour anyway, so like it was going to balance out, and then look at coming back in it, you know, to a bit better capacity, a bigger capacity, sorry, down the line. And I had to change that plan. And so I went, I think about 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. I started back up with my current client, which was, again, it was quite light touch, but it was still email inbox management. And I did not have it. I was really like, oh, brain fog. And then another potential client got in touch out of the blue. We had spoken like a year previously. She was now ready for some support. And I was like, I'm gonna have to jump at this. And so that kind of was really the like starting point for pushing forwards. But it was still quite I'm gonna say a good few months where I was still seeing this more like in that side hustle manner of like just kind of, it's something to keep me ticking over. And I eventually got to a point, I can't actually quite remember where it was, but I got to a point and I turned around to my husband and I was like, I'm going all in on this. I've decided I'm going all in on this. Like, what's the point in me kind of tiptoeing around? Not, I'm going all in. And he was kind of like, okay, I'm telling you, I'm going all in on this business, and we will deal with whatever that looks like on the other end. And I did. And because by that point, my confidence had grown. I got really into like a nice rhythm. I had a nice like roster of clients. Like things were really growing, but I was really holding myself back because it wasn't going to be the full-time thing. And then I was like, actually, what am I achieving by doing that? And that was really, you know, and I have to provide, but I also want to show my daughter, look what I can do, look what I've done. So yeah, I just decided I'm going all in.
And
Whatever
all
that
in,
looks like.
all in you have gone. In
Yes.
this chapter, you mention a performer on sabbatical.
Mhm.
And Hannah is a client of mine. She's in the associate. She's now co-author. Like we're in each other's worlds, and I know. And I'm always intrigued to ask you because there's no right or wrong answer, and you really don't have to know the answer. But that performer in sabbatical, the bigger the business gets, the further in you get to your all in. You know, the client's building, the confidence shines through. How content are you to call entrepreneurship your new stage? Are you ever going back to performing, or has this taken its place now?
It's really funny. I actually had this conversation with a client like 2 days ago, because she's feeling like getting to that point where she's possibly, you know, what's next for her. And so we were having this conversation. I don't want to rule out. I always think like never say never because you don't know what opportunities are going to come up. We've obviously moved as well. So I'm now in Dubai. Opportunities are going to be different out here. I haven't even explored what it could look like. I've got an idea, but I haven't even explored it. I miss dancing. I miss performing. I miss being on a stage. I miss the process. I miss rehearsals. I do miss the industry in that manner. But there's a lot that I don't miss about the industry. And the more secure I'm getting in my own business, the more confident I'm getting in as my own person, the more at home, I suppose, I feel in myself. I don't know how much I want to trade off that. And then it's logistical things like, do I really want to be out until the crack of dawn, having been woken up by a toddler 3 hours later because I've been gigging, that sort of thing? Like, it's the practicalities of it as well. So I don't know, and I'm not closing any doors off. I will be coming back to the UK soon, and I did say to my client, I was like, I might bring my shoes back just in case, but I don't know. But I would still love to have more experience. I've had experience as choreographer and do more creative direction. I would like to, if I'm gonna kind of go back into a more front facing creative role, I think I would rather put my efforts into that area. So I would like to get back to class, so that is one thing I would really like to do this year, and it's on my to-do list for this year. I want to go back to class, and I want to just enjoy it, because I got to that point where I was gigging for the sake of the paycheck and to pay the bills, and that doesn't sit right with me, because I just adore everything about being a dancer and being on stage and dancing and stuff. And to have hit that point where I was like, I'm not even really enjoying this now, I knew that was the moment I was like, I need to, this is time to really like shift my focus somewhere else. But I miss it a lot. So I feel like class could be a nice bridge into it. So yeah, watch your space. Who knows?
You speak about you speak about enjoying dance from those early years with your dance school and the nurturing nature of that in the chapter. So to hear you say that, Hannah, about going back to class and just enjoying it, and maybe reworking that narrative, like you say, at the end of your career, there wasn't that much enjoyment in there because of the necessity of it. And you also mentioned the word value in your chapter as well. So I just want to touch on that shift from not feeling valued to now being that very person of value in other people's ecosystems, that you're bringing your A game, and really, you're bringing skills and things that a lot of the industry don't understand, they can't fathom, they avoid. So you must feel elated that you as a person and your skill set is valued so deeply within those client worlds that you're working in.
Yeah, completely. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it feels almost like superficial, or almost like a bit egotistical, maybe. Like I want to feel valued. It's not that. There was always like this sense, and it is that, you know, idea of it being almost like a cattle market, and you're a chorus line, and you're just a number, all of those lovely cliches we've heard over the years. But there's always been an element of it, and I don't think that's necessarily going to be change. It's fast paced, and it's a massive group of people that are being organized to look visually beautiful on stage. Like there is always going to be an element of just get on and do your job. And I did always kind of push for more. When I was on the cruise ship contract, I would have loved to have had like dance captain or project manager. Yeah, not project manager, PM though. I can't think of what, production manager. That was it. I would have loved those roles, and I would have like thrived in those roles. But I was a newbie at the time, so I was never gonna get that necessarily. But I would always push for more. Like even when I was gigging, I was so I like really put myself out, like, what do you need? What can I help with? And for a while that you kind of get that back, and they're like, oh, okay, this is really great, like someone's really helpful. I kind of went out my way a good few times, but it did get to a point where it was a bit used and abused by some people, and I started to just feel a bit uncomfortable with that. And it's just appreciating the value. I think maybe I missed the word appreciate in the chapter. Possibly it's appreciating someone's value, because I very much appreciate other people's value, and I treat people with the respect for that as well. And to have noticed this like change when I was a performer, or to feel completely like disregarded or whatever, that wasn't nice, because without us you don't have a show. That's how I see it anyway. And like you say, now, the clients that I work with, I provide a very pivotal, valuable asset to their business and to help their growth, and have helped growth. And so, yeah, it is lovely to actually hear those words, and to know that what I'm doing is making an impact, and but it's also bringing value to other people. Like what I'm doing has this massive ripple effect across that client's business, the wider ecosystem. I'm trying to really like push my messaging further, and that value is only going to spread. So it is really important to me, and it's nice to kind of feel like it's come back now.
And I hope the listeners are resonating and allowing themselves to feel these feelings because you are one of very few, Hannah, that are saying these things out loud because they are painful. They feel
Mm.
disrespectful to the industry that we love, but they're very, very real. And you've navigated that, you're sharing, and that will create a ripple, that will create permission, that will just create some more resilience for those listeners that are thinking, oh yeah, what's next? This doesn't feel like it
Yeah.
used to feel. I don't want to feel like this, or whatever those things might be. It's all individual, but it's all very, very real. Um,
Mm.
we haven't really touched on sharing and telling people what HVA is and where they can find you, but in the show notes, listeners, I'm gonna literally tell you the other two episodes in the Showbiz Side Hustle
Yeah.
podcast where you can find out exactly what those businesses are and how Hannah can help you if you are listening from that point of view. This specific episode was about getting to know Hannah, getting to know that backstory, understanding what's gone on through that chapter. Please do pick up the chapter. It's full of resilience, it's full of highs, it's full of lows, it's full of value, it's personal, it's powerful, all of these fabulous words. And it's all true. It's spoken from the heart. And the journey you've been on, Hannah, from that person really trying to fit into a box to then creating your own huge successful business
Yes.
stage is incredible. And I just know that the readers will absolutely get so much from picking up that chapter and reading it. What did the process, and this is a bit of a loaded question because I do work closely with Hannah, the process of writing the chapter, of going through the steps to view your life, to look at it, to pull out the bits, to link it all together, to see the dots, to come out with the chapter, and the confidence to say the pieces that you've discovered in and amongst those moments. What has that process done for you? What's it gifted you? What's it reminded you? Are you glad you did it?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I've never really given myself much time to reflect on sort of, I suppose, the journey as a whole, and because that was the part, that was the point. It was looking at the journey as a whole, and I mean, it uncovered some things. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? What, even this whole, that, I didn't imagine when I first kind of signed up to do the chapter and everything. I kind of, in my head, you kind of imagine what the chapter's going to sound like and what it's going to be about. And doing through the process and kind of actually having that reflection, even the element of not feeling like I fit in, I never really put my finger on that until this moment. And I thought, actually, that's really wow. And I remember I'd written like all my notes out my notebook and stuff, and I turned around to my husband. I I think I've come to the conclusion I didn't really fit into the industry. And he literally looked at me and was like, yeah, I don't think you ever did. Okay. That would have been helpful to have known earlier. But I just never sat down and kind of put all the dots together. And it's not yeah, it's been a lovely process. And to have that opportunity to write and to express myself in that way, it's and like you say, having the confidence to even say some of the areas that I have, there were things that I pondered, like, do I go to that place, do I not? So it's been a really lovely process. And yeah, I can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're at
We're
this
here.
point now. It's crazy, but no, I've loved it. It's been so enjoyable.
It's been a pleasure to go through this process with you and the other three second edition co-authors. They are such a special addition to an already very wonderful and successful and
Yes.
inspiring book. But this is just going to up level it again. Four new perspectives, four new journeys, four new heart-led, honest stories. So thank you, Hannah, for being part of that. Do just drop your socials verbally so that we can find you. But as I say, rest assured, all of those past podcasts and your socials will be in the links below. And The Business of Show Business, that's the title of your chapter. Readers, pick it up, read it, understand Hannah, see yourself in it, and enjoy it, because it was a real journey, Hannah, and it's a privilege to read and watch it.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I've absolutely loved it. I'm excited to see it in print. Can't wait for that moment. Socials, you can find me at HVA_ENTS on Instagram, and then it's like HVA_ENTS on others, Facebook and LinkedIn. But I'm predominantly over on Instagram, or I have a LinkedIn newsletter, actually. Go read that. That's good. That's good. Comes out weekly. Go and read that.
It is good. You'll get lots of tips from there. Right, Hannah, I'll let you get to bed because it's late in Dubai, but I appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you for just being so open and transparent. Big love to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There you have it. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Spotlight series, where stories shine and success gets redefined. If you loved what you heard, hit like, follow, or subscribe. And be sure to grab your copy of Spotlight on Success over on Amazon. And don't forget to tag us at PerformerPreneur across all socials. If you've been inspired today to step into a new spotlight, you can find a whole community ready to support you at PerformerPreneur.co.uk, as well as up-and-coming events and even more about each author. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and continue to shine.